Some stories, and the beings within them, appear in one form or another in multiple cultures throughout history. This reoccurrence of familiar tales has birthed the study of comparative mythology, a study that compares tales from around the world, looking at the similarities and contradictions within stories. They look at what tales appear in different cultures and question why that is. Perhaps these tales come from the same origin. Perhaps they deliver an important message. Or perhaps the beings within them once existed and have specific behavior patterns. One of these tales is the Shoemaker and the Broonies. A famous version of this tale was once told by the brothers Grimm themselves. Welcome to the bi-weekly podcast that explores all that is myth, legend, and folklore in Scotland. Join me, Ryan, in discovering tales from Galloway to Shetland and from the Hebrides to Peterhead. This is Finding Folklore. There once lived a shoemaker and his wife who had a shop just off the high street in Edinburgh. It was well situated, and their window was able to show off all their wares and all their stock. The shoemaker was very talented, but fell on hard times. And hard times only got worse. And before long, the shoemaker was struggling to make ends meet. He tried, but through no avail, he kept getting worse, and eventually he only had one small piece of leather left to make a single pair of shoes. He cut the leather and then shut down his shop for the night. He turned off the lights and locked the doors and checked the windows, and then went to bed, sure that the next day he would make his final pair of shoes. But when he woke, a pair of shoes already sat on the counter. A pair of shoes made just as well as he could make them himself. He rejoiced, but wasn't sure what had happened. He put the shoes on sale that day, and to his luck and surprise, someone came in, and it was the exact type of shoe they were looking for. They were so pleased with the shoe that they paid more than the asking price, and the shoemaker was able to go and buy leather and supplies to make more shoes. He had enough leather to make 2 pairs of shoes, and so cut the leather and then closed the store, went to bed. The following morning, the shoemaker awoke to find 2 pairs of shoes sitting there, as well as if he had made them himself. To his surprise, 2 people entered the store that day and found said pairs of shoes, and they were exactly what they were looking for. They were so excited and pleased with the shoes that they paid over the asking price, and the shoemaker was able to go and buy more leather and more stock to make more shoes. That night, he set aside the leather and cut it to make 4 pairs of shoes the next day. Then he closed down his shop, turned off the lights, and went to bed. And again, he woke to find the 4 pairs of shoes made and sitting on the counter awaiting him. Once again, he sold all 4 pairs of shoes and made more than the asking price for each, and left himself enough money for more stock. That night, before going to bed, he said to his wife, "We need to stay up and see who is making these shoes for us, to see who is the cause of our good fortune." And the wife agreed. So they left a small candle lit, then closed the store, locked the doors and the windows, and crept up the stairs, where they waited. At the stroke of midnight, they saw it. A small group of Broonies, fairy folk, came out from a hole within the wall. Tiny little people, naked, with long noses and long fingers. They laughed and danced, and made their way up and started working on the shoes. The shoemaker watched them work expertly, and before long they had made all the shoes and scurried back off into the hole. "Well," the shoemaker said to his wife, "we have to do something to thank them." His wife agreed, and she said as they were all naked, she would make them small clothes and shoes for themselves. And so they set about doing this. And a couple of nights passed, and then they done the same. they closed the store and left a candle, and the wife of the shoemaker left out small pairs of clothes for each of the Broonies. At the stroke of midnight, the Broonies came out and found the clothes that had been left for them, and they rejoiced. They each dressed in their new clothes and laughed and danced and celebrated the fact that they now had clothes themselves and would no longer be naked. They made the shoes and then left. And that was the last night the Broonies ever visited the shoemaker. But from there, the shoemaker's fortunes had turned. He had enough money and wares and a strong enough reputation that from that moment on, his business flourished and never needed the help of the Broonies again. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on this story. Have you heard of the Broonies and the shoemaker? Are Broonies a type of fae you've heard of before? Like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already, and join me for our next episode in 2 weeks' time. Until then, may the devil walk behind you. Bye for now.